alumni and students. I, Sakshi Sharma, along with my colleagues Gaurav Sharma and Dhruv Chaudhary, on behalf of the Corporate Relations Committee, I am Kashipur, welcome you all to the second edition of Vishleshan, the annual analytics conclave. The theme of the conclave is Evolution of Decision Analytics, a journey from data to intelligence. The intersection of business and technology has caused a paradigm shift in how different industries function. Analytics is essential for any organization looking to stay ahead of the competition in today's highly competitive business landscape. The discussion seeks to explore the potential of analytics in decision-making and its usage within companies for creating greater value. Today, decision analytics has also emerged as a key driver for the long-term success of any business. We believe that analytics augments the formulation of strategies, brings evolution in capabilities of organization, stands as a structural backbone to enterprises, and fosters growth in the industry. So, in order to gain insights and perspectives of successful industry executives, we have our 4 accomplished leaders from significant corporations with their expertise to enlighten us today. I take this opportunity to welcome our panelists, and we look forward to an informative and energetic evening with you all. Now I request Gaurav to introduce our esteemed panelists.
Yes, thank you so much, Sakshi. To begin with, I would like to introduce our first speaker for the day, and Mr. Bhargab Dutta. Mr. Bhargab Dutta is currently the head of Digital and Analytics COE at Colgate-Palmolive, India. In his very recent stint, Mr. Dutta was instrumental in setting up digital and analytics practice for Aditya Birla Group, particularly in industrial and manufacturing sectors. Prior to joining ABG, he was instrumental in leading and establishing various data analytics initiatives and capabilities in global MNCs of General Mills, Honeywell, etc. He has published several technical papers over the year and was awarded Gen Next Analytics Leader 2019 by SCM Professional Forum and Industry Leaders 2020 Supply Chain by 3AI Association, India's largest association for AI and analytics professionals. So we are honored to have you with today.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes. So with that, I would like to introduce our second eminent panelist for today, Mr. Ravi Teja. Mr. Ravi Teja currently holds the position of Director for Corporate Strategy and Data Science at Viacom 18. Mr. Teja has 11 plus years of experience in corporate strategy, analytics, and data science domains. At Viacom 18, he has led many projects in the media data science domain, including enhancement of viewer engagement and retention, ad optimization, streamlining of multiple business processes, among others. He also has extensive experience in the design and execution of analytical strategies for various Fortune 500 clients in the industries of financial services, healthcare, and consumer product as part of his stint at Deloitte. He holds an MBA from Indian School of Business with a focus on strategy, leadership, and marketing. We are looking forward to hearing from you, sir, and we welcome you.
Thank you.
Yes. So with that, I would now like to invite Dhruv to introduce the other panel members. Over to you, Dhruv.
Thank you, Gaurav. Our third panelist for the day, Mr. Shailesh Kumar. Mr. Shailesh is currently serving as the Chief Data Scientist at Jio. Prior to this, he worked as a researcher in the Google Brain team. Distinguished scientist at Ola Cabs, co-founded Third Leap, senior scientist at Yahoo Labs, and principal scientist at Fair Isaac Research. Dr. Kumar has 20 years of experience in building AI solutions in a variety of domains, including telecom, retail, finance, fleet management, healthcare, agriculture, education, computer vision, knowledge graph, natural language processing, and conversational computing. He was recognized as one of the top 10 data scientists in India in 2015 and top 10 most influential analytical leaders in India in 2020 by Analytics India magazine. Dr. Kumar holds a master's and PhD in AI from University of Texas, Austin, and BTech in computer science from IIT Varanasi. A very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, Dhruv. Thank you for inviting us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. The next panelist for the day who is about to arrive, Mr. Prasanna Lohar. Sir is the member of the National Committee on Artificial Intelligence and Digital Transformation at FICCI and is also the founder of India Blockchain Forum. Mr. Lohar has 23 plus years of experience at all levels, be it engineering, management, and innovation as CXO, board member, advisor, and founder. He has worked globally for banks, fintech, microfinance, and multinational companies for digital and architecture transformation. He's closely associated with new and latest technology, assimilation, experimentation, innovative customer servicing and engagement, robust architecture implementation, fintech and startup alignment, open innovation practices, and collaboration with other banks on various initiatives. He's a mentor for National Payment Corporation India Hackathon, IFSCA Web 3.0 Hackathon, NASSCOM Blockchain Hackathon, Kerala Blockchain Academy, AP FinTech Valley, GIFT RegTech Accelerator, and is an advisor for Telangana Web 3.0 Sandbox, GMR Innovex, and many more startups. We are really honored to have Sir on the panelist.
Yes, so with that, before moving on to the exciting discussion ahead, I would just like to acquaint the panelists with the flow of the event. So firstly, we will be posing questions, and then the floor will be open to all panelists to share their thoughts, and post which there will be a Q&A sessions with the students present here. So with that, a thought certainly comes to mind upon seeing all our eminent panelists. Sharing knowledge is a charity of knowledge that constitutes the way of a beautiful life. And with this quote and a hope for a fruitful discussion, let us take forward our session ahead. So moving on to the first question, data and analytics are disrupting existing business models and ecosystems. Proliferation of new data sets and introduction of massive data migration capabilities are undermining existing information and technological silos. So we would like to open this discussion with your thoughts on how well did analytics facilitate this journey from abundant data towards intelligence for the purpose of decision making. Over to you, all of anyone can start here.
So, okay. So let me start the discussion. So while we are talking about decision making and generating insights for driving business value, so we would want to understand what did the role of analytics play. So analytics had actually had a huge impact on driving the journey from data to intelligence. So the data has been existent. So analytics did actually provide the tools, methodologies, and the techniques to actually understand the data, collect the data, mine the data, and explore what are the insights coming out of it. So for this to happen, not only did the advances in analytics did help, but also the overall network itself in terms of people understanding the value of analytics, how it can drive business value. So in terms of generating intelligence out of data, the first step that actually is very crucial is trying to understand what is the business value or outcome we are trying to achieve through use of analytics, or what kind of insights are we trying to look at. So when this guides the process of insights generation, that's when the insights become very actionable and relevant. So generating insights is a process in itself, but the insights generated being worked upon generating business impact is of the ultimate importance. So during this journey, so we have seen an expansion of a lot of data sets, and all the industries have been looking at the different kinds of data and what kind of newer insights can be generated from any additional data sources than the ones which they have been traditionally collecting and all. So this kind of thought process did actually drive the entire journey from moving towards a more decision-driven process. So once people did understand how data can actually make their decisions more informed and knowledgeable than just based on their subjective opinions, that's when a transformation happens. So for a transformation of this magnitude to happen, it's also mostly dependent on the cultural mindset of the people in the organization. And not only does the leadership, but the entire employee group in as such should understand the value of a data-driven decision making. So for this kind of a cultural shift, so the companies should slowly start moving towards from leadership-driven adoption to employee-driven adoption. That's when at all phases and all departments does the true value of analytics does help the team.
Sure, sir. Very insightful. Do any of the other panelists want to add something?
Bhargav, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I probably agree with what Ravi was saying. And one additional point I would like to add here when we define this journey from data to intelligence. But last step has to be the creation of knowledge, right? Data to intelligence, then how we can create the knowledge base within the organization, which is eventually that is the key in keeping the sustainability of entire data insight continuously within the org. So that is where another key aspect I would like to add, in addition to what Ravi is saying, from data to intelligence to insights, then to knowledge, right? And that is another aspect. Typically, most of the organizations nowadays giving a big importance. In fact, in my current organization, in previous organization as well. And now, how to keep that knowledge base within the from the data to insight to knowledge, that circle is another key secret sauce in successing in having in getting them all the benefit out of data analytics. So this is just one point I would like to highlight here.
Thanks. So just to add to that, I think, I don't like the term data science anymore. After doing this for 20 years, the term I like is decision science.
Yeah.
Because if you think about what is the end goal of all of this, right? All that Google does, all that chatbot does, all that, anything does, optimization does. Ultimately, what is a business or an organization? It's a collection of decisions, right? And banks have been, if you define a bank, you say, what are the 5 things that a bank does, right? What are the 5 things that an airline industry does? What are the 5 things that a retailer does, right? So any business is defined by the decisions it makes. And these businesses have been making those decisions since long time, right? Banks have been around way before we started collecting data, right? They were also giving loans. Today also we give loans. Decisions are the same. We have been making the same decisions over a period of time. Supply chain was there before also, now also, right? What has changed is the method of making decisions, right? Earlier it was rule-based, expert-driven, IT first, and now it has become data-driven, right? So my learning is that we need to, when we think about transforming an organization from a data-rich to an AI-first organization, we should start backwards from decisions. And think about it. We should, the way I work, I wear a McKinsey hat sometimes and say, okay, how do we transform retail? How do we transform telecom? How do we transform Ola, Uber? And I work backwards from decisions. So the first question I ask is, what are your decisions? I never ask the question, where is your data? It's like a chef walking into a kitchen. He doesn't say, where is your potato? Where is your tomato? He starts with the question, what dish do you want to make? And then he works backwards and say, I need potato, I need tomato, right? So the idea is data science should actually be called decision science. And we need to think and change the mindset that the primary driver of this field is data-driven decision-making. Decision-making is the key. In the process, we will do many, many things, right? We'll clean the data, extract insights from it, make predictions, do optimizations. But ultimate goal is decisions. If we can only predict and not decide, useless. If we can only get insights from data and not decide, useless, right? So everything boils down to that is the end goal. And like the eye, of the bird that Krishna has when he's throwing an arrow, we need to keep an eye on what decisions are we driving today, whether it's an ad campaign or an improvement in supply chain or whatever, right? Customer personalization on Netflix. It doesn't matter what decision, but we work backwards from decision. That's what I learned. And hopefully all of us can imbibe a different view to data science, which is work backwards from decisions, because it's the decision that makes an organization more efficient, more profitable, more, market share, more growth. And the quality of decision makes the quality of the organizations, right? Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. And it was indeed like very insightful to hear about, decision making, because, we hear this word a lot, data science. And in nowadays, like data has been used to make a lot of decisions and all. And definitely we have to, the new way of thinking should be to, look at the backwards, how things are, at the starting. So yeah, we will try to inculcate this. And moving further, I think Sakshi, you can take over.
Thank you, Gaurav. So moving on to next questions. Data analytics, if used properly, it provides a competitive advantage over other companies in the industry by enabling organizations to identify new opportunities and leverage their insights to make strategic decisions. So data analytics programs are evolving as the digital transformation of companies progress. So, sir, our question is, how does analytics foster a competitive edge while formulating growth strategies?
Okay, probably I can let me try on addressing this issue. So this is see, all organizations are leveraging analytics nowadays. There's no one is there that which is saying that I'm not doing any analytics. Everyone is doing. And now the question of the competitive edge, that is where the differentiation comes. Now it varies across organizations. Everyone wants to be competitive against its competitors, but it depends on the maturity curve, whether they are into laggard states or they are into leader states, right? Or they are in between. So depending on these three stages, they have to adopt analytics as per their maturity, and either they have to fast track or they have to experiment, or either way they have to navigate. So I will give you a couple of examples from my previous stint. So it was one of the heavy manufacturing industry in India, and the traditional business. They have been doing as like Dr. Kumar mentioned about that. They have been doing supply chain manufacturing so many years, right? Nothing has been changed. Same decisions how to take. But now the question is that from the company growth strategy perspective, everyone wants to grow. They have a certain growth target. Everyone, and while doing that growth, they want to minimize the cost, and of course with the same amount of resources effort that needs to be considered, right? So that is what basic three principles for any organizations. Now with that three principles, how they create their competitive edge, that is where the differentiating factors come into play. Now in this case, I will just give you an example from I will take an example from manufacturing itself. So they have from the strategic perspective, they have a growth, they have a target of X percentage growth and Y% of cost reduction. But third very important aspect nowadays coming into play, which is sustainability. In terms of being known as a responsible manufacturer to the society and environment, that is one another new dimension nowadays most of the organizations trying to add to be seen as a sustainable organization, right? And that is where, although it was not a very, I would say, glamorous subject 5-10 years back, but nowadays it is very important, because not lots of funding, lots of other activities are related to this sustainability nowadays for big organizations. So now, while doing so, they have a target of by 2030, I think 2030-35, some 70% carbon reduction target was given. Now, how to achieve it? So now it's a heavy manufacturing industry. It uses lots amount of fossil fuel in doing the manufacturing. Now we know this amount of fossil fuel comes into play during heavy manufacturing. Now, from the analytics perspective, now how we can help it, right? So what we have realized, that we have gone into process manufacturing. We leverage IoT-based, industry IoT-based framework. We analyze the process variability, reduce the process variability, identify the sweet stage of process parameters, and thereby help them helping 6 to 7% of fuel reduction. And this is in turn as a direct impact to the sustainability goal from the strategic perspective. It helped them in preponing their certain carbon reduction goal by 5 years ahead of time, right? So that is how we have given, from the analytics perspective, one kind of competitive advantage in the sustainability goal, leveraging analytics, showing the path how to save your fuel footprint and then thereby helping them in reducing the carbon footprint goal, right? And this is one example. Similarly, I can give numerous other examples in logistics. By doing route optimization, we have reduced carbon footprint, and then eventually helping. So there are many examples we can talk about. Anyway, I'm stopping myself here. Probably I can others can give more interesting examples in this area.
Okay, so let me add to that. Thanks, Bhargab. So basically, as we talk about decisions, right, there are 4 types of improvements we can make in our decision making, right? And one of them is tactical to strategic decision making. So the first one is what I call broadcast to personalized decision making, right? So if I teach the same thing to all students in the country at the same time, it's a broadcast decision, right? Krishi Darshan is a broadcast decision. Putting an ad on somewhere on a road is a broadcast decision, right? But now with all the data, we can do personalization. So one of the strategic initiatives of every company is to transform its decisions from broadcast to personalized. So all your sales and marketing decisions, all your campaigns, all your ads, all your searches, all your home screens, right? Everything that you deal with the customer, can you make it more and more personalized, right? So that's the first strategic initiative. The second is batch to real time. So today we think about, running coupons every Sunday or every Diwali or every back to school. But now think about real time decision making, right? So somebody bought a printer 3 months ago, and you know from data that he's going to buy the print, cartridge 3 months later. How do you convert this insight into a decision which says when, who should get what coupon, and can I convert that, right? So it's real time and personalized. The third is reactive to proactive. So today we react to a lot of wrong decisions, right? Customer has churned the bank, employee has quit, somebody got a heart attack, the crop has failed, and we react to it. Today we are a reactive society, but AI and data science allows you to be proactive. So if as a telecom provider, I know that a certain customer is getting a lot of call drops or low throughput rate on his telecom experience because, for whatever reason, right? The antenna is not pointing towards him, or there is no coverage near him, or there is a new building that has come in front of him. For whatever reason, he is having a bad experience. Can I be proactive in my customer care instead of him calling me and saying, hey, I'm having a bad experience? Can we be proactive? So proactiveness in all our pursuits is another thing that, for example, Ola, Uber, if it knows that, in the morning at this location, you need more cabs, and in the evening, you need more cabs here. If it can predict the demand forecasting, can it be proactive and making sure that there are enough cabs in the right locations in the right time, right? So this is the third dimension, proactive decision making. And the fourth is what we call tactical to strategic decision making. And the tactical is all about how do I maximize the current reward function, right? So, and see what happens in agriculture, for example. If a farmer uses all the subsidies of water, fertilizer, pesticide, he may get a very good crop tactically in the next season, but strategically he will destroy his soil for the long term, right? Too many chemicals. And this is what is happening today. That's why there is Save the Soil movement and all that, because there are no bacteria left in the soil anymore, right? So how does an organization balance the tactical and the strategic is a very important thing that AI can actually help with, right? Let me add to that, there are 4 workflows that we have discovered that organizations run, right? So first is what we call an execution workflow, which basically says, how do I execute my normal day-to-day work, right? Somebody ordered something online. What is the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, right? So there's an execution workflow, and an organization is made up of many, many execution workflows. The second workflow is what we call an efficiency workflow, which basically means, can you discover sources of inefficiency, right? And like Bhargab talk about the sustainability, right? If you have inefficiency, right? If you are, not using your routing very well of packages, let's say Amazon, or if you're not taking care of your warehouse to store routing or any such, right? Or people routing to fix the telecom towers. If you're not doing that well, how do I discover inefficiency? and how do I find the root cause, and how do I address inefficiency? So this is called efficiency workflow, right? Execution workflow, efficiency workflow. The third one is expansion workflow, which is where strategic thinking comes, right? Expansion workflow is all about where should I grow my next market, right? Like Ola had to decide whether they should go to Australia or London to start their next market, right? So this is an expansion of the business, right? Where should I put the next cell tower? Where should I put the next store for Pizza Hut, right? So these are all expansion workflows. How do you expand your business, right? And the last one is what we call exception workflows. And Murphy's law is always at play. Things break down all the time. And how do you make sure that you are able to detect before something breaks down and intervene before something goes wrong, right? So these 4 workflows kind of give a very nice strategic thing to any organization and saying, am I expanding? Am I taking care of exceptions? Am I continuously improving my efficiency? And am I executing at peak capacity? And this is a universal way to think about decision making and the workflows that an organization has to deal with. Thank you. Yeah, Ravi, Teja.
So while any company is trying to formulate strategies and trying to be competitive, so over my experience, what I've seen is different companies are at different places while they're trying to embark on their analytics journey. So the first thing that the company needs to understand, not only just from the competition alone, is where and what does it try to achieve on moving towards an analytic-driven or a data-driven decision-making route. So firstly, the company needs to identify, does it truly derive value from moving towards an analytics-driven organization? And if so, what should be the immediate next steps? And what kind of immediate investments does it need to make in terms of technology? What kind of data does it need to collect? What kind of processes does it need to streamline or reinitiate some of them? And across people, what should be the kind of skills, talent that the company is looking at? And how in the entire business cycle is all of these aligned to the business strategy? And how convincing is this towards their goals and achieving what is the company trying to do? So when all of these is taken into account while trying to understand what should the company's next steps be in their analytics journey, that helps them take a calculated move towards data-driven decision making. So that's the point that I wanted to leave here, is like, firstly, it should try to evaluate and then try to understand what is the business value that is trying to derive from a decisions that the company is to make in the near future.
Thank you, sir. We would like to welcome Mr. Prasanna. Sir, just to help you out with the discussion, we were discussing on how analytics fosters a competitive edge while formulating growth strategies. We would be really enlightened if you could share even your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think, thank you so much for this invite. My initial thoughts are like, if you look at the banking industry, typically I come from, and many of us are having bank accounts, right? So now the way the banking has moved from bank to the non-banking entities also started providing financial services through collaboration with banks. And now, say example, many of us will have more than 2 bank accounts, or maybe more than that. Now, how a particular bank really take care of one customer? Either we can meet him, greet him, understand what's his need physically, or we can call him through contact center, or we can understand the data, the way he's doing transaction to you or not to you. So typically the way journey starts with account opening with you, but we need to say whether the customer who is banking or opening account with you, is he going to be loyal or engaged customers? There comes role of some kind of intelligence, where we have seen how mathematical models has really helped in the past in multiple industries. Similarly, we can look at how these mathematical models can get into analytics of or analysis of data, and then come up with a, say example, let's create a 360-degree of Mr. Gaurav Sharma, where I can understand what's his need, financial, non-financial need. Either I can do it manually by asking Gaurav, it will take a lot of time. The way we'll have a lakhs of customer to understand them, we need some kind of automation. So I think analytics plays a major role out here. Why? Because yesterday's banking was like a traditional banking. Today it's a digital, but tomorrow it's going to be kind of an intelligent banking. It has to be supported by technology like big data, AI, so that we always know 24/7 what my customer is doing, provided he has given a consent, right? Let me understand and so on. So I think that's the role of analytics. We can do many more things. We can cross-sell, upsell to the things to the right products to right customer on right time with the help of things. And customers could be any, it could be retail, corporate. These days Indian government is looking at how SMEs can really be part of a financial inclusion, considering lending aspects. So I think analytics is now going to be integral part of every ecosystem. I will not be surprised yesterday's core banking will come up with an additional component called as analytics, right? So that we call it as a digital core banking, which gives a understanding of a customer, understanding customers' data. Banks can really create those strategies, how we can really engage with the customer for right product. Now, the way we see transformations are happening, I think when analytics comes to the picture or any other way or technology or methodology, we start exploring people around that. Do we have right set of people there? Right? We have a strategist people out there. So example, those roles were not existing. Today we have a chief data officer, or there are dedicated analytics units in the bank. So that's a very, very important for us as a student also, how we are a party to that whole ecosystem. While we come out of these colleges, we should know, yes, these are those roles are available for us either in technology or a management. So typically, as far as IIM is concerned, management, and how you can be part of those engaging ecosystems, right? Engaging new business models. So that's a role of analytics, having technologies being there, but what is the business utility out there is very, very important. Now, example, countries like China, or there are furthermore countries. Now, somebody in Russia, like President of Russia said, the countries will be, those countries will be powerful who will know how to use the country's data. Now, it all boils down how much data we have, how many people we have. That's okay. That's a mechanical data, but creation of some kind of innovation ecosystem for your country to see how many people are literate or not literate, how many people are getting loan, not loan. So this, wherein we can understand the data in multiple factors. We have experts out here. I was hearing. So I think that's a role of analytics. The way I can summarize in a nutshell, the banking yesterday was a traditional banking where I had to go to the bank. With the analytics banking, banks coming closer to you. Maybe tomorrow banking will be always around you. Wherever you go, banking will be around that. Not only banking, every other ecosystem, right? So that's a way to look at the power of analytics to use the data, and so that wherever customer is there, provide him or her ultimate whatever they are aspiring for. Yeah, these are my initial remarks. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. That was really insightful. We have well understood how analytics and mathematical models can be powerful tools when it comes to formulating growth strategies. We also understood the 4 types of strategic initiative: broadcast to personalized, badge to coupon, reactive to proactive, and tactical to strategic decision making. This facilitates how analytics also helps companies gain a strategic perspective on their operations and identify areas of improvement. By analyzing data, businesses can find ways to reduce process variability and increase sustainability. With the right analytics tools and workflows like execution workflow, efficiency workflow, expansion workflow, and exception workflow, companies can gain an understanding on their customers and develop effective strategies that will give them a competitive edge in the market. So over to Gaurav.
Yes, so we will move forward with the next question. So with the diverse use cases of analytics and its applications, it is no longer a surprise that these are now finding way into customer workforce, supply chain, finance, and risk strategies at an organization level to produce calculated insights to solve complex business scenarios. So our next question is, how organizations need a roadmap to help employees harness data science and process automation to enable data-driven decision-making?
So let me start on that. So before we actually think of a roadmap on how analytics can be employed throughout the organization and what kind of things do we need to do to have this data-driven culture, firstly, I would like to ask a question. So can anyone tell us the reason, like what could be some of the main reasons why the adoption of models fail, like why the models fail?
Anyone can raise your hands if
Yeah.
anyone want to answer the question.
I just got an answer on our chat, sir. So
Okay.
someone just mentioned, like, is it because of assumptions or failures in algorithms?
Okay.
So that was one of the answers.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else who would like to answer
I
on
think
this?
Shravan was raising his hand. You can answer, Shravan, if you want to.
Yes, sir. Sir, I think one of the main reason is that the data sometimes is not always accurate.
Okay.
Because there might be bias in the data collection or cleaning the data.
Mm-hmm.
So that could lead to problems with the model that we create.
Yep. Any other reason? Like, these are all valid reasons why models fail. I was just looking at any other reasons why this model fails. So just try to think apart from how the model is built, what kind of data you would want there. In terms of the entire business context, why is a model being developed? What is it used for? Along those lines, if you could think, are there any other reasons why models fail? Okay.
So maybe we can continue with the discussion, and
sure.
as and when we get answers, we can let them.
Okay. So according to some of the main reasons why the model failure, whatever you've all been thinking in terms of if the data is inaccurate, if the models have not been built properly and all. But one other critical aspect is, what if the models are not used at all? So there are models that are built by the data science team, but the business team or the actual stakeholders are not in need of the models, are not interested in using the model. So one other critical aspect in terms of actually making the entire organization data-driven is try to inculcate and make the entire organization understand the value of data-driven decision-making. So very often how these organizations are built in terms of organized, that there is a central data science team who works upon the instructions from the leadership, that what are the models that they need to build or what kind of insights they need to generate. But when it actually goes to the team members who actually need to work upon these decisions or try to realign their business process or workflow that they do on a day-to-day basis to align with the model, that's when they do not want to adapt these models, because a kind of an inhibition towards change and all. So that's the very reason we need to have a roadmap along all these lines, not only just in terms of leadership setting up the strategy or the data science team building models, collecting data, investing in technology. A critical important process is the people aspect. So when we usually talk about people, right, we often look at it from the perspective of what kind of data science skills do people need, what kind of technology skills do they need, what kind of things that they need to understand and all. But we somehow miss out on a critical aspect, that people, the end users of the model are also people, and we also need to address their concerns in terms of model adoption, model understanding, and model interpretability. Not exactly in terms of what does the model do, but based on the insights that the model generates, is it being very understandable to the team? Is it very relevant and actionable to the team who is actually going to implement this? So I generate an insight saying that which is very useful to the business, but the person who actually needs to act on it, let's say tries to build a marketing campaign based on this, or tries to change their customer acquisition strategy, doesn't understand what does the model telling me or what kind of insight does the model giving out, then that's when the people aspect is very important, wherein it fails because people fail to understand or fail to adopt the model. So while in the previous question, while we are trying to understand why strategy, processes, technology, data, and things are important for an organization to be more decision driven through data, it's also equally important to have people aligned towards the data driven decision making. And that's the point that I wanted to explain in terms of a roadmap, which also should encompass not only their goals, business outcomes and all, but also need to address the people aspect of things in order for any analytics journey to be successful for an organization.
Thank you, sir. If any of the other guests would like to add upon this point.
Yeah, I will add. I completely agree with Ravi. I think, as we move from, physical workforce doing physical work all the time to a digital workforce, we had to upskill ourselves, not only individually, but as a company, we had to change the culture, right? The new IT culture had to come, right? Everybody had to upskill and all that. This is a new culture shift that is needed, what Ravi talked about, which is how do we go from digital transformation 1.0, which is the IT transformation, to a digital transformation 2.0, which is an AI transformation. And here also we need a cultural shift. Not just buying a bunch of tools and hiring a bunch of people is not going to cut it. Unless we co-create a solution which involves the business, which involves the product managers, which involves the subject matter experts, and it also involves data scientists and software engineers and product builders. It is a culture shift. So, data science is a team sport. It is not something that we sit in an ivory tower and figure something out by just looking at data. So today my team actually goes to the ground, talks to the business leaders and stakeholders, understand their pain points, and makes them part of the solution, right? So they should be able to contribute a lot of domain knowledge that they have, which is very critical to building a good solution, right? And when they also feel like they have co-created a solution with the so-called data science team, then there's a lot more acceptance and willingness to want to use it to make sure that, we put our 100% into that solution. So that is a cultural shift that is needed, top down and bottom up. Bottom up means different levels of people, in the management level, in the engineering level, in the product level, on the grounds operations level. Everybody needs to understand what is their role in the new world, which is data-driven decisions. What is their role in this, right? It's not that it'll take away their jobs. They need to understand that they will be able to do a much better job for the 1 hour they spend on going to a wrong customer and not getting a sales done. If AI tells them where to go, they'll actually increase the efficiency of their travel, right? So the idea is people want AI. People are figuring out how to do it. There is no template right now. So everybody is trying many, many things. It's a new field. You have to understand AI is just a very new field, less than 100 years old. Mathematics is a very old field, right? Thousands of years old. So we know what's mathematics, but we don't know what's AI really, right? It's a very naive. We are at a very naive stage in AI. So we are all figuring it out. There are very systematic processes being built, but the cultural aspect of bringing AI into an organization is a very unappreciated area. And I'm very happy that you brought up that question. And what does the cultural transformation of a company need to become an AI first company, right? And it's a very critical thing. And unless everybody participates, it's not going to happen. Like they say now in some countries, they say it takes a village to raise a child. Here also, it takes a village to build a model, right? To understand the domain, to understand the data, to understand the deployment, to understand the ground realities. It takes a village to build a model, right? Not just one person. So I think hopefully that will come as we, as we go through this journey and learn. Thank you.
Yes. Do any of the other panelists would like to add anything? Should we move on?
So what was the context, Gaurav?
Yes, sir. So the question was how organizations need a roadmap to help employees harness data science and process automation to enable data-driven decision making.
Yeah, I think so. Very, very apt. There are organizations, there are various types of organizations typically, right? Some organizations which will be built by you and your team will be digital first, data first organizations. Now, if you go back, the organization built 100 years before or 50 years before, they need to understand what is meant by data, what is the data strategy all about. So things starts from there, awareness and creation of people skills around that, or going for a right technology, right infrastructure, evaluation of those parts, consulting some corporate companies. And while doing this, look at the regulation, how they are taking care of our data of a customer. and so on and so forth. And last but not the least, the use cases or the business cases, for what purpose we are going to use it. Convincing those use cases. See example at DCB, how we have used this overall the strategy is that we have created the use case. We have created use cases like a customer's 360 degree. So while creating this whole stuff, we have done evaluation of those tools, implemented. We had people, we created a unit of 12 different guys, data science and data leaders. And to begin with, we have not taken all sort of data, right? So we have, although for a customer, we have a both structured, unstructured data, internal as well as external data. We always taken care of internal data, which is coming from core banking or the data which is available in the, whenever you guys do the transaction on POS or EPOS or ATM or POS, the transaction data and their basic data by which we started creating these models or these data lakes for those customers. So how we have utilized, the example, Dhruv is doing transaction on internet banking today. So we have done those notification immediately for the Dhruv that based upon these data, which is the internal data, these are something which is available. For example, Dhruv is keeping 1 lakh rupees every month for last 9 months. But by keeping that 1 lakh rupees as a fixed deposit, can we not have more earning or in a wealth, right? So that kind of stuff we have created. Now, as a bank, we need to understand Dhruv is dealing with what all products or what all financial aspirations. So accordingly, we have to drill down those models from vertical various data sources. Now, the next level is, instead of having internal, can we not have the data of social media, or in case of SMEs, there is open data which is available in external sources, utilize that and create those models. So whenever as an app or as an end user or a branch user, when I'm talking to that customer, I know what is he looking for. Or that's how we have created. And while doing this, we need to do a lot of handholding to all the stakeholders, business or data security officer, CISOs, audit. So once that whole sign off happens, it's very, very good understanding of everybody that we are moving as a data organization, right? Or a data first organization, which typically happens in that those organizations, we don't have anything around that except the data. And then all these mechanisms will come. The organization which you guys will build, you need to take care. It has to inculcate with the data officers and data strategies and right architecture so that it becomes inherent facility within your app or within your any of those innovations you will build it. So what we are building, maybe rocket science, maybe after 5-6 years, those will plug and play kind of things, or even a corporate industry partners. They are also now understanding it should not be 6 months the way we build complete big data on every other. It took more than 6 to 7 months. Today, there are companies, they come and they just plug and play based upon access they have or based upon internal sign-offs, not more than 15-20 days. And that, I think it should be just like you download the app and start utilizing those external apps. Similarly, I think we should have those data models ready. Right, because now to do that, what is happening at a Reserve Bank of India, now what they are doing, they are creating a lot of platforms. UPI is one of those platforms, but NPCI cannot use their data because data belongs to customers, and ultimately data is governed by banks, not belong to the customers, sorry, not belong to NPCI or banks, but is governed by NPCI or but tomorrow PCR, which is a public credit registry or account aggregator, there will be huge number of data which will be available. So I think you will see, after creation of this platform, the way every bank or every organization has dealt down with the data, you will see tomorrow, or you should not be surprised to have a National Data Corporation of India, which will take care of all the data of India as sector agnostic, maybe for payment something else, for governance something else, for health something else. So it's not only at an employee level or organization level. We need to see how nation level we can deal with the same Sakshi or same Dhruv, who are integral part of a country. So I think platformification followed by this kind of innovation should really bring on much more needed stuff. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much for your insights. And as mentioned by all our panelists, in today's data-driven world, organizations need to have a roadmap that helps their employees harness data science and process automations to enable data-driven decision making. And with the help of this roadmap, organization can gain insights from the application of developed models and understand the pain points at ground level. And this will help them make informed decisions based on domain knowledge and real-time analytics. We have understood that how it takes a roadmap which focuses on building a culture of digital literacy among employees and helping them understand how to apply data science tools and techniques to their day-to-day work. Additionally, it should also provide guidance on how to use predictive analysis, machine learning algorithms, analytic modeling techniques, and other AI technologies for efficient decision making. Yeah, over to you, Sakshi.
So moving on, with the diverse use cases of analytics and its applications, it is no longer a surprise that these are now finding way into customer, workforce, supply chain, finance, and risk strategies at an organizational level to produce calculated insights to solve complex business scenarios. So our next question is, how will the data science skill set evolve as new tools and higher expectations that are on the horizon?
So let me start with a few thoughts on this, right? So if you look at what does a data scientist role mean 5 years ago, was very different than what it means today. And therefore, it will be very different 5 years from now, right? So I just want to give a sense of how the role is evolving. So back in the day when the open source was not there, or tools were not there, we had to write our own tools. Now we don't have to write our own tools. We can download the tools, but we have to shift from technology towards domain and data. We don't have to build tools. We have to use tools, and we have to know how to use the tools. But what we have to learn is how the data and the domain work together to create insights and all. So the shift has come from building tools to using tools. What is the next shift going to happen, right? So today we are very comfortable with building individual models very well, right? So we know how to build one model here, one model here, one model here. But if you look at the next generation products, I call them the next generation products. So the last generation products were cars and TVs. Our generation products are Google's and Facebook's and LinkedIn's. The next generation products are going to be things like smart cities, connected car ecosystem, agriculture ecosystem of a country, healthcare ecosystem of a country, and all that. Like Prasanna was saying, right? National level products. Now, there is no operating system for such a thing. I want you to understand that for a mobile phone, you have a very complicated operating system, which knows how to operate the physical to digital to application plane of a mobile phone, right? We know how to build an operating system for a Mac or a cloud, AWS and Azure. What is an operating system for a smart city or for an agriculture ecosystem? So the next 5 to 20 years is all about building what we call ecosystem products. These are very complex, highly integrated products where a smart city needs to know what the weather is, what the crime rate is, what the pollution is, what the energy consumption is, what the traffic patterns are, it is not about the 5 silos. It is about an integration of the 5 silos. So the next 20 years is going to see how we will integrate the little building blocks we have built to create an entire ecosystem of an intelligence, right? So just to give an analogy, think of, let's say we know how to build individual cells now. What we don't know is how to build a body, which integrates all the cells together into a single whole. You understand? That is the gap in the next 20 years. So we know what a drone does well and how to make sure the drone does what it does well, right? Predict which crop needs water. We also know how to do supply chain well of, fertilizer and pesticide. But now how do I integrate these 2 pieces of knowledge, right? Right? We know what a satellite does and how to interpret satellite data. So now imagine, and we also know how to do weather prediction. But the question is, can you actually combine all the 4 things and then give a personalized advisory to every farmer every day? This combination, this integration, this system thinking is going to become a very important skill, right? So the idea is, I think we are going to move more and more towards domain and towards system thinking. And the core skill in my mind is the art of formulation. And, there's a talk on my LinkedIn. slightly more technical. But what I mean is the layer of data scientists I see missing today, and business schools can play a very big role in this, is the art of formulation. So the idea is your boss is going to tell you that I need to reduce churn of my customer. I need to increase my market segment. I need to improve the efficiency of my thing. He's not even speaking a data science language. He's speaking a completely different language, right? The data science guy knows how to build clustering models, regression models, classification model. He does not understand what the boss is saying. So we need a layer of people who can translate the requirement of the business into an AI architecture of the company. That is the critical missing thing. And for that, you all need to, whichever domain you pick, right? You need to understand the overall business architecture of that vertical, right? Retail, telecom. And you need to also understand all the tools that are available in the AI world. And you need to bridge and say to do tilt optimization of a cell tower better. Why do I need? Because I need to improve the quality of service for people, and cities are different in morning and evening. So how do I change the tilt of a thing? I need to solve 5 different problems, right? I need to do demand forecasting of where more data demand is at what time and what location. Then I need to know, what is the customer behavior, commute and all that. I need to know 5 things. So one model is not going to cut it. So first lesson is we need to think about multiple models working together as a whole. So we need to bring top-down architectural ecosystem thinking instead of one model thinking. Yeah. And second is we need to start not separating IT from AI. This is one of the biggest mistakes we are doing today, which is there is an IT system somewhere and an AI system somewhere else. And there's a data system somewhere else. We are creating these silos, which is a big mistake. In the future, sensors data will come in. Automatically, some level of AI will happen on it. It will put it in the data lake. It will automatically go to some prediction and decision models, and it will automatically generate triggers for the operations team to work on. This integration of data generation, data analysis, prediction, optimization, rule engine, business logic, and operation, this integration is critical. So I talked about 2 kinds of integration thinking. One is a data to decision integration, not as something is special and different, something else is different. How do you integrate the entire workflow? That is one integration. And second, how do you not think about one model? How do you think about all the 20 models that an organization needs, all the 20 non-AI APIs that an organization needs? Together with these 40 APIs, how do you create an integrated architecture for that organization? Right? That is the vertical centric thinking. So I tell my team, if anybody asks you what you're building, don't say you are a data scientist. You are now building an operating system for a vertical. That is what is missing in our thought process. We have lost the art of thinking top down because it's very difficult to understand all aspects of a business, to hold that much of architecture into your mind and draw it and say, this is a very complex architecture. Let me see what goes into what goes into what goes into what. Being able to draw that architecture and then saying how to design each of the boxes and then implement and then deploy and then integrate. So integration is the next innovation in the next 20 years. That is what we need to get to. Yeah, we know how to do bottom-up stuff. We still don't know how to do top-down stuff. And one of the problems is because we have data silos on one side, different vendors have built different models over the last 10 years in different technology components. It's very hard to now integrate. And that is what has happened. So we need to cut all this and say, we need to think top down and say, no, I'm not building a collection of cells. I'm actually building a body. And how do you think top down and work from there is going to be a very important skill set that I hope all of you will generate. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Just I think Dr. Kumar has mentioned all the important points, and I take one point from him which I follow very diligently, which is about formulating the business problem. If you're able to formulate the business problem, 50% battle is won in any work that you do as a data scientist or decision scientist, whatever you say. So while doing so, what as Mr. Dr. Kumar mentioned, typically I follow this 5 buckets of thought process, and I think this is needed for everyone. That will actually help you in creating that connected ecosystem or connecting the dots, whatever way you can say. So these 5 things, what I follow is, first of all, definitely data ecosystem, which is basically what data. Once you define the problem, then you need to understand what all data are needed, what are not needed, or what data I am collecting, I am having with me, what data I am not having with me, but I need to collect in future, right? And what data I may not be knowing that I'm not collecting at this moment, but may be important, right? These 3 aspects is needed from the data perspective. Then afterwards, again, for the connecting with the business problem, then come the technology infrastructure, which is related to IT aspect, what Dr. Kumar mentioned. Now, to manage those data, what kind of IT infrastructure I should have it, right? And then to process that, what is the processing capability? What kind of end solution I need to develop eventually? How it will be used by the user? All these pointers I need to think about, and then from that perspective, I need to think about what should be my tech stack as well, right? So that data tech stack. Then comes your analytics modeling aspect. So people typically in data scientist world, people jump into doing the modeling first. They do not think about anything else, which is a very, I would say it's not a right way to start with. That comes afterwards only. Once you define the initial problem formulation, data strategy, tech strategy, then comes the modeling aspect, right? Modeling, you can do anything. There's a lot of same problem can be solved in different way. I will not comment about that part. That is typically we come to know what is the right approach in solving that problem. But after that, important 4th aspect comes into play. Once you create the model, once you create the solution or application, how you integrate with your process and systems within the business. Unless you are able to integrate with process and systems within the business, your solutions end-to-end connectivity will not be happening, and it may not be a successful outcome as well, right? So that is the 4th aspect you need to think about, how eventually you can integrate with the processes and business, the systems that you have in your whatever process you are running, or whatever the business problem solving for the particular process. So I'll give you one example. In our case, we have a big sales force across India that sells our product. We sell our product about almost 20 lakh stores. Whatever you see on the road, everywhere you will see our product, right? Now, to help our salesmen, because for them it is very difficult that they have to figure out thousands of stores, and they have their own target. They need to sell our product. At the same time, we also want to grow, and we also having lots of competition, right, against our products as well. So now, how the typical our management has mentioned that, okay, I need to grow. This is my growth number. You give me the growth. And then what we have to do? We have to now from that problem statement, or from that business statement, we need to bifurcate into different problems. And what are those growth levers? Whether my assortment needs to be correct or improvised, or the recommendation need to be improvised, right? Whether my pricing strategy needs to be improvised, or my promotion strategy. So all these 3 levers I need to identify, and then from those levers I need to identify what all data needs to be leveraged, what all modeling needs to be done, and then afterwards, let's say I have built the assortment recommendation engine. Now every day I'm giving my recommendation assortment, but my end user is who is my end user? My end user is my salesman. He has to see the recommendation in his handheld device, right? Otherwise, nobody will care about whatever I'm doing. So from there to giving that direction to his device, that is getting into integrated with the process. But afterwards, there's one more aspect. Okay, my salesman might have seen that, okay, this is the AI engine telling me the assortment recommendation. So what? Why should I sell it, right? Then what I have to do, I have to gamify my incentivization strategy for that salesman with linking with that recommendation, and then linking with my growth strategy. So that is how the entire thought process you need to bring in when you can. That is how basically your career should look like when you want to move towards decision scientist. These are all aspects that you need to follow. These are the pointers I want to highlight here. Okay.
Do any of the other guests would like to add upon the point?
I think we'll go ahead. So thank you for the insight, sir. We've come to know that as business become more data driven, they need to hire data scientists who can not only work on traditional data, but also develop new methods to analyze and interpret the data. And that data scientists need to have a wide range of skills that go beyond just coding and analytics. And it is no longer limited to analyzing existing data sets. They are not now expected to formulate the business problems accurately and translate the AI architecture to bridge it to the business requirement. It was also highlighted that a data scientist need to understand the art of formulation and create new products that leverage the latest technologies in order to gain an edge over their competitors. This means that data scientists must stay up to date with the latest trends in order to remain relevant in today's ever-changing market landscape. Over to you, Gaurav.
Yeah, so we'll move forward with the next question. So analytical practitioners today have a vast array of analytical capabilities and techniques at their disposal. These range from the most fundamental techniques like descriptive analytics, which involve preparing the data for subsequent analysis, to predictive analytics that provide advanced level to forecast and predict future, to the top notch of analytics called prescriptive analytics that utilize machine-based learning algorithms and dynamic rule engines to provide interpretation and recommendation. So in touch with the last question, I would like to ask our panelists, what do they think about, how is the future of the enterprises will be shaped using compelling data and analytics? Over to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Shailesh, so you can go ahead.
Yeah, I can go ahead. So basically, we are probably bouncing around the same kind of questions, right? So let me see if I have anything new to add. So basically, if you think about English language speaking has become a horizontal skill, no matter what you want to do, whether you want to be a MBA graduate or an engineer or a doctor, let's say English language has become a horizontal skill, right? Or whatever, right? Similarly, if you think about data science, it has become a horizontal skill, irrespective of vertical, irrespective of the kind of data you deal with, irrespective of the kind of businesses. I think data science is a way of thinking as much as, object-oriented programming is a way of thinking, right? And it comes when we hear multiple perspectives from different people and try to figure out what is it to me, because it's a very multifaceted perspective, right? So that is one. And I think everywhere there is a decision, there is a scope of improving the decision. Just think about like that, right? So if you're making decisions in the banking world on credit modeling for SMEs, there can be a better way, always, right? And one of the big shifts in IT thinking to AI thinking is, IT thinking is like an input-output system, right? I'll give some query or input and some output will come. AI thinking is really a learning loop system, which means an organization has to not just build one model and deploy. It has to also figure out how to take the outcome of the first model, see where it is not perfect, collect the next level of label data, and continuously improve it. So what an AI software should do, it is not a one-time exercise to go from data to model building to inferencing and production. It is also a continuous learning loop cycle, right? And how do we build that? So for me, the real question is not how did you build the first model? 12th graders are building the first model today, right? All the Kaggle competitions that are happening, all the open source, all the documentation, right? So everything is happening. That is not a skill set. How do you build the first model? The second model is the skill set. You understand? How do you take the outcome of the first model and say, I was 70% accurate. I looked at the outcome. I predicted churn. I acted this way. Still some people churned that. So what can I learn from it? Unless we put a feedback loop in the system, that is a way of thinking. So AI thinking is a learning loop thinking. It's not an input-output thinking. Yeah. Now, once you are able to do that for every decision in your company, then every decision is continuously improving over time. It's like evolution, right? We are all evolving. Every generation, we are better than the previous, depending on whatever the definition of better is, right? So here also, we need to define that, and we need to put that system in place, which says, I will build a model, fine, but I'll also build a modeling platform or use a modeling platform. For me, building a model is not rocket science. Institutionalizing a model into a modeling platform where it says, oh, I'm going to watch this model. As soon as its performance degrades, I will go into trigger a retraining. I will redeploy automatically. This is the platform. Yeah. So I'm going to draw an analogy. If you go to a restaurant, let me draw this analogy, right? So there's a person who's called a waiter who brings in your order, right? These are your front-end tools that are using your AI, right? What do you need? Do you need spicy? The waiter is going to take the order. This is like your front-end tools, right? Customer-facing tools, operation-facing tools, internal-facing tools. Then what does he do? He goes back and he talks to the cook and not the chef. So I'm going to make that distinction now. The cook is somebody who takes a predefined recipe and cooks. He does not innovate. He knows exactly what the recipe is. He follows the recipe to the dot, and he can build as many repeated models as you want. He can cook the same dish over and over again thousands of times, right? So that's a cook mindset. And that is the first generation data scientist. They are a cook. That means they know how to peel the onion, wash the onion, do the cooking, and serve the dish, right? Because the recipe is given to them. That guy in my world is not a data scientist. He is a modeler. He's given a recipe and he follows the recipe and he does whatever. Now, can you automate that process? Yes. So can I automate model training, right? So there are a lot of companies who help do that. Who is really a data scientist? The data scientist is a chef, not a cook. What does it mean? What is an outcome of a chef? A chef is trying many, many things. He's experimenting with a lot of, more salt, less salt, all of that. And what is the outcome of a chef? It is not a dish, but a recipe. You understand? The outcome of a chef is also a dish, which he said, this is my final dish. And these are all failed dishes. So we tend to build many, many models, but the final model that we really like and the recipe for it, the recipe is important. Why? Because once the recipe is out, he can give it to the cook and the cook can keep cooking the same model again and again, right? So where is the creative part of the whole process is the chef part, right? And we want to migrate from being a cook to a chef, I hope, right? Because that is where because the cook part is now taken over. Azure, ML, automated systems can build models. You can tell them what to do. They will build models automatically. You don't have to get involved. So the field of AI has been highly automated. Therefore, the skill sets you need are the cook versus the chef mindset. And the next mindset is the kitchen. Kitchen is where the chef does his work. So kitchen is the platforms, right? The Azure ML platform that gives you all the tools that you need to experiment with your models and build whatever kind of models you want to use, right? So are you going to be a waiter or a cook or a chef or a kitchen owner, right? And that's what the journey is really. And if you think about the next generation companies, right? H2O and all that, Azure ML and AWS and all, they are giving you kitchens and saying here, you can store data, manipulate data, visualize, deploy, everything you can do. I'm giving you a full kitchen. Creativity is yours. You are a chef. And once you have produced a recipe, AI, automated systems can keep building the same model again and again, unless you need to change the model, right? So we need to understand these 4-5 roles and where do you want to fit in, right? You want to be a platform owner that is like a kitchen, or you want to be closer to the customer and say, I'm a waiter. Let me understand the requirement from the business, translate that into what the cook should do. And then if it is not enough, the recipe is not enough, translate that for the chef and say, we don't have a recipe for the customer who's asking for this, right? And then you say, oh, my kitchen is not equipped to build this. I need to get one more tool to build this, right? So this is the journey end to end, because it's easy to understand it this way. And we need to figure out what is our role in this journey. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, any of the other panelists would like to add? Yeah, so I think we can really relate to the analogy given by Shailesh sir, and we all strive to be the chef, not only in the analytics domain but any domain that we want to pursue, and this should be the kind of motto that we should have in our life. So definitely, sir, we will try to follow it as much as we can. So with this, I think we can now move on to Q&A session, and I think Dhruv will take over from here. Over to you, Dhruv.
Thank you, Gaurav. For the Q&A session, students can raise their hands and pose their questions based on the discussion conducted. Anybody would like to ask a few questions can raise their hands, and post which you can unmute yourself and ask questions. Yes, Saurav Saharoy, you may ask the question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
First of all, good evening to everyone, and thank you so much for this wonderful session. So my question is to Shailesh sir. Sir, you have talked about implementing AI, big data in banking sector in coming future. So my question is, in India, where around 65% of the population who stays in rural area, and from that, we think around 60% were usually hesitant to accept technology or are hesitant to shift from a basic traditional method to a technological method, right? So what will be the feasibility of this model in India as a main prospect?
Very good question. I was hoping somebody will ask something like that. So if you think about the true purpose of technology, right, it democratizes value for all, right? That's what a good technology does, right? If you have road as a technology, it makes sure that everybody benefits from it, right? And today AI is still done at a level where it is very accessible to the urban English speaking 30% of the country and not to the 70%, right? Now, two things need to happen to get there, right? One is they all need to get on the digital bandwagon, right? No bank should be allowed to do handwritten way of doing banking anymore. And thanks to the policies of the government, we now have digital payments, digital banking, right? Payment, all the money goes directly to your salary account, everything, even Narega is online now, right? So you understand that this was the first major upliftment, which is digitization of the banking sector. Now comes the AIification of the banking sector, right? Now think about if you use CRED, for example, or some online banking thing to apply for a loan or do a FD, because you are urban, you understand English, you understand UI and all that, a farmer in a village does not understand that, right? An app built in the English language using very heavy UI UX is not going to work. So one of the key skill sets we need for you guys is to figure out how to penetrate the benefits of AIification of the country to the masses. And you will very soon realize when you talk to, and this is why in Geo Institute, we are teaching design thinking as an important course to go understand why farmers are not using certain apps. And there are obvious answers and some non-obvious answers. The obvious answer is not everybody speaks English, right? So we need to start building apps and products which are inclusive, not exclusive to only English-speaking country people. So we need to start thinking, whenever I launch an app, can I do it in at least 10 major Indian languages and then expand? So one is language, because India is not one, France is one language, Germany is one language. India is 22 official languages, and you can imagine how many unofficial. Second is our UI UX has to become a lot simpler. If you look at Ola, Uber UX today or banking UX today, it's very, very complicated, right? Even though it is beautiful and easy to use, it's not easy for those people. So the next big innovation that is coming is the speech-enabled interaction between humans and machines. I want you to imagine that there is a universal personal assistant for all Indians, available in all languages, is speech-enabled, and the farmer can say, I need a loan in his language. He can say, my child has fever in his language. He can say, I need to get more fertilizer for tomorrow in his language, and the app should do it. This is where the future is. If somebody can imagine a universal personal assistant, which is not hundreds of apps on your phone. So today I have to order food, I go to one set of apps. I have to check email, I go to one set of apps. I have to order taxi, I go to one set of apps. I want to order medicine, I get to one set of apps. It is a very, very complicated thing that is your screen, and you can do it because we are trained to do it. But a lot of people find it very, very, complicated. So what we need is migration from hundreds of apps to a universal personal assistant, which can understand all intents in all languages and deliver actions, not just information, right? So that is one. We need to go from menu-driven systems to speech-driven systems. And we need to make sure the speech to text and text to speech works in all languages. And, sometimes I joke with my Alexa friends. So Alexas of the world, for them, language is all about cool. It's a cool way to interact. And hey, Alexa, change my channel. You could have done it with your phone also, with your channel. For Alexa, it is about cool. For India, speech is not about cool. It is about inclusion. Inclusion and trust are the two very important foundations. If we cannot think from those angles, right? And sustainability we talked about. Inclusion and trust, right? Trust is low. Even physically, people to people trust is low, right? Bank doesn't trust the person who is taking a loan and vice versa. Trust has to go up. And why would you trust an AI versus a person? So AI has to build trust in people, and AI has to become inclusive in its access. These are two very fundamental things that should happen. And with that, across sectors, we know what to do. We can deliver these two capabilities with trust and accessibility. Yeah. That's when all this will come alive. Yeah. Thank you. Good question.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I hope, Saurav, that answered your question. Next, I would like to call Mahima Prajapat to ask her question.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much to all the panelists for an insightful discussion. My question is for Ravi, sir. Sir, can you discuss the challenges faced in implementing decision analytics in organizations and how they can be overcome?
Okay. So the challenges faced are like on multiple aspects. So while we were actually discussing the question previously also, so the challenges can stem from different things. So it all depends on the way in which the company is. So a challenge could be in terms of the collection of
I think we have lost Sir's connection.
Yeah, I think any of the other panelists, maybe if they would like to take up this question, can take it. In the meanwhile, we get Ravi sir back.
Yeah, so sorry, I'll try to. So the question was on the challenge of adoption, right? That was the related the question was?
Yes, the challenges on adoption of decision analytics.
Okay, challenges on adoption of decision analytics. Yeah. Okay, so I think some of the pointers we have touched upon what all challenges could happen. Very first point is that actually there are multiple challenges are there. Okay, so I let me try to structure a bit what all challenges could be the main reason for adoption. First of all, one important point I would like to take it from the previous discussion on the trust aspect. Okay? What I am telling, see, from industries like where I have been working in last many years, those are very traditional industries. People have been working in those fields for many years, 15, 20, 30, 30 years. Recently, we had an annual day and we have celebrated 30 years, 25 years long tenured service, right? They know their subject. Now, when I come and I tell them, okay, this is another way of looking at your problem and solving it. First question, why they will trust me, right? So that is one thing. So how I can negate the trust factor, that is the first point. I need to be successful in making this adoption easier for the business process, right? That is one thing. Second thing, other aspect is that in data analytics field, one important question come from the top management side in terms of quantifying the value. So unless I am able to quantify the whatever I am doing or whatever the results or being implemented or not, if I am not able to quantify, or if I am not able to measure the success, then again that adoption becomes a challenge. So now, how to quantify that is from the value out of your work is another aspect you need to look into to make the adoption easier and easy to transition, right? So that is the second piece. Third piece, I would like to highlight one on the people's capability within the organization. So sometimes we may be thinking quite ahead of time, but our organization may not be ready to adopt right away. So to negate such scenario, how I can structure my thought process in a way so that not only I also progress in a smoother manner, at the same time, I can also help my people's capability, upskilling their capability in line with what I'm thinking, right? So that piece also has to go hand in hand. So how you can walk, not only delivering your analytics work, but how we can help the organization in upskilling their capability. That is another aspect I like to highlight here. So these three things I would like to highlight as part of change management and adoption of data analytics initiatives.
Thank you, sir. I hope, Mahima, that answered your question. So lastly, I think we can go ahead with Antarika as the last question for the day. Antarika, you may go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Antarika. Firstly, we are very grateful to you for rendering such a wonderful session. My question to you is, will AI and ML lead to maximum elimination of manual labor in manufacturing units?
You're asking me?
Yeah, any one of you can answer.
Okay. This is a tricky question. So yes and no, both. So in certain aspects, it may, but at the same time, we also know that the skill set also needs to be evolved, right? Accordingly. So in the manufacturing setup, if I, let's say, talk about, I'll give you some example. I'll give you one example. We had, I will not talk about the industry, but I'll just give you the process what we have been doing there. So we have a packing plant. So there has been the product comes, and then somebody has to put in bags manually, and then he needs to again put into convertible. So that was the original way of doing, and and his throughput was something around I think per minute something about 10 to 12 packing bags. Okay. Now that is very crude way, initial way, and his skill set was measured about within 1 minute how much bag he can pack. Now next came was automatic packer kind of things, right? It's not exactly fully automatic. It moves in a little bit faster way. Now here, what he has to do, the same person, now he has to run the packing machine, and he has to run the packing machine. And what he was doing in 12 packs in a minute, now he is doing around 120 packs in a minute. But he needs to know how to program that packing machine depending on the type of products coming upstream of process side. Right now, look at here, same person working as a packer. Earlier he has to do manually. Now he has to do with the help of some machine. But what he had to do, he has to learn the programming aspect, how we need to change the program. So that is how the skill set will evolve. So it may eliminate the original packer's job, but it will evolve into some kind of program-based packer job, right? So if that person is not able to upgrade, then he will lose his job. But if he is able to upgrade, he will still be there. So that is how I will answer your question. And there are many other examples also, but this is just one example I thought easy to understand.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. That was really insightful, and I hope it answered Antarika's question. Due to paucity of time, I think we won't be able to take any more questions, but we will make sure to forward all the remaining questions of the students on the respective email IDs of our panelists. So with that, I'd like to officially adjourn this amazing session with a vote of thanks. We, the Corporate Relations Committee, would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to our panelists for taking out time and gracing us with their presence in this event and making it a resounding success. We are grateful for your contribution to the event, and we will certainly take many insights from it. As a humble token of appreciation, we are proud to present you with the certificate acknowledging the planting of a tree through our partner Grow Trees. Gaurav, if you can share the PPT, please. Great, thank you, Gaurav. As you speak, these certificates are being shared with you on your emails. We hope the tree signifies the values that our industry leaders have towards the growth of our country. As it is famously said, a good event never ends in the world. They take only a pause and keep us waiting for the next. With this thought, we thank you all once again, and we hope to continue our association in the future as well. Thank you to the complete panel.
Thank you for inviting us. It was very nice. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Good luck.